At my aunt's will reading, my parents, who had abandoned me 15 years ago, suddenly showed up, smiling like nothing had happened. "We're still your guardians," they said, as if those words could erase the years of silence. What they didn't expect was my lawyer walking in with papers that would leave them pale and powerless. Before we dive in, if you're listening from your city, country, hit subscribe for more stories like this. Like if you'd stand your ground, comment your move, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. I thought their betrayal ended years ago. I was wrong. My name is Daniel, and I am 26 years old. For most of my life, I lived with the bitter truth that my parents abandoned me when I was just 11. They didn't leave because of poverty, illness, or anything noble. They left because raising me was too much responsibility. I still remember the night they drove away, the sound of their car fading into the distance, leaving me standing at the gate with a backpack and tears streaming down my face. If it hadn't been for my Aunt Margaret, I don't know where I would have ended up. She took me in without hesitation, opening her big Victorian-style house to me. While others might have seen me as a burden, she treated me like her own son. She paid for my schooling, encouraged my love for art, and even helped me secure my first job when I turned 18. Every birthday, she would bake me a chocolate cake, my favorite, and remind me, blood doesn't always make family. Daniel, love does. Thanks to her, I had a life filled with opportunities, but deep down, I always carried the scar of being abandoned. Sometimes I would hear about my parents. They had moved to another city, built careers, and from what I knew, they lived comfortably without me. Not once did they call, write, or check if I was even alive. Still, Aunt Margaret's love filled most of the gaps they left behind. She was my rock, my guide, and when she fell ill last year, I stayed by her side every single day. I never imagined how drastically my life would change after she passed. The will reading was held in my aunt's study, the very room where she used to sip tea and mark her crossword puzzles. The scent of her lavender perfume still lingered faintly in the curtains, making the moment even more bittersweet. I sat nervously, clutching the edge of the chair, while the lawyer opened a leather folder that contained the words which would shape my future. But before he could even begin, the door creaked open. My parents walked in as if they owned the place. My heart stopped. My mother wore pearls, her hair styled perfectly, while my father carried a smug grin. They hadn't been in this house for 15 years, yet here they were, striding toward me like ghosts from a nightmare. "Daniel," my mother said sweetly, her voice dripping with artificial warmth, "we're here to support you. After all, we're still your guardians." Guardians. The word sliced through me like glass. Guardians don't vanish when their child needs them most. Guardians don't wait over a decade to show up, only to reappear when $2 million are at stake. I felt my chest tighten, the room spinning with the mix of lavender and betrayal. My father leaned in and whispered, "Don't worry, son. We'll handle everything for you now." His hand even patted my shoulder as if he still had the right. The lawyer cleared his throat, glancing between us. My parents smiled wider, confident. They were about to reclaim control. But then, the lawyer unfolded the papers that made their smiles disappear. The moment the lawyer began reading Aunt Margaret's will, the air in the study changed. His voice was steady, professional, but every word he spoke was a dagger to my parents' carefully crafted smiles. "To my beloved nephew, Daniel, read, I leave my estate, including the house on Willow Lane and all assets in my accounts, totaling approximately $2 million. My parents' jaws visibly tightened. My mother's pearls rattled as she shifted in her seat, while my father forced a cough to mask his shock. They had expected to hear their names, not mine. The lawyer continued, "It is my explicit wish that Daniel shall inherit everything, as he has been my family when others abandoned me." His eyes briefly met mine, a flicker of approval in his gaze. My parents were pale, their confidence cracked, but not entirely gone. They leaned closer to me. "This doesn't change anything," my father hissed under his breath. "You're still young, you need guidance, and legally, we're still your parents." I clenched my fists beneath the table, nails digging into my palm. For years, I had swallowed their absence, lived with the ache of their abandonment. But now, I had power, and I wasn't about to let them twist it. After the reading, I stayed behind with Harold, the lawyer. His tone softened once my parents were gone. "Daniel, your aunt anticipated this. She asked me to protect you." He slid another folder toward me. Inside were documents transferring full control of the estate into my name immediately, leaving no room for interference. There was also a letter from her, handwritten in her looping cursive. Don't let anyone who left you once take from you again. This is yours, Daniel. Stand tall. Those words hardened my resolve. Step 1, I signed every paper Harold placed in front of me, ensuring the house and accounts were locked under my authority. No one could touch them. Step 2, I contacted the bank directly. With Harold's help, I froze any possibility of joint claims, removing my parents' names from anything connected to me. They couldn't siphon a single cent. Step 3, I returned to the Willow Lane house and changed every lock. The gates, the doors, even the safe in the study, all replaced. The estate was my sanctuary now, and I wouldn't risk them slipping in under some pretense of family visits. But I wasn't alone in this fight. Harold became more than just a lawyer. He was an ally, a strategist. They'll push back, he warned. People like your parents don't accept defeat quietly. You'll need to be ready. I nodded. Let them try. That night, sitting by the fireplace in the house Aunt Margaret had loved so dearly, I felt both grief and empowerment swirl inside me. Losing her had left a hollow ache. But the gift she entrusted to me was a weapon against those who had once abandoned me. I thought about the years I spent waiting for a phone call that never came. About birthdays spent staring at an empty mailbox. About nights crying myself to sleep, wondering why I wasn't enough. Now, they were the ones knocking at my door, and I held the key. But Harold was right. They weren't going to let this go. My parents had shown up smiling because they believed they could manipulate me into handing everything over. Now that their plan had failed, they would get desperate. It didn't take long for my parents to make their move. Within 2 days of the will reading, my phone lit up with messages. At first, they came sugar-coated. Daniel, sweetheart, we've missed you. You don't understand how hard life was back then. We didn't mean to hurt you. Their words were laced with guilt-tripping, like they could rewrite 15 years of absence with a few sentences. I didn't respond. When silence didn't work, they switched tactics. My father showed up outside the Willow Lane gates, leaning against the iron bars like he belonged there. Daniel, he called, his voice booming, you can't handle all this alone. $2 million, a house this big. You need us. I stood at the window, hidden behind the curtains, my jaw tight. Did he really think I would forget the nights I starved while they built a new life without me? The next attempt came a week later. My mother arrived, dressed in her best floral dress, carrying a tray of muffins. She knocked at the door like she was a loving parent paying her child a visit. When Harold arrived moments later, she switched to tears. I only left because I was young, confused. But I'm here now. Can't we heal, for Margaret's sake? Her voice cracked, but her eyes darted to the security camera above the porch. She wanted witnesses. She wanted me to look like the heartless one. I didn't open the door. Harold, standing beside me, muttered, "She's not here for you. She's here for the money." Weeks passed, and their frustration grew. The messages turned bitter, ungrateful child. We gave you life, you owe us. And then came the final blow. They organized a family meeting, inviting distant relatives and old family friends. I only found out when a cousin called, whispering, nervously, "Your parents are telling everyone you've stolen what rightfully belongs to them. They say you're being manipulated by the lawyer." The day of that gathering, they stood in front of the crowd, painting themselves as victims. My father's voice carried, "Our son has been poisoned against us. He's throwing away family bonds for money." Relatives glanced at me with pity, confusion, some even disapproval. My mother clasped her hands, letting tears stream down her face as she sobbed, "We only want to love him. But he won't let us in." The manipulation stung. For a moment, I wondered if people believed them. The same people who never knew the nights I cried myself to sleep. Who never knew Aunt Margaret was the one who saved me. But then, my turn came. I stepped forward, my hands steady even as my heart thundered. "Do you know where they were for the last 15 years? I asked the room. Silence followed. Not here. Not once. Not a birthday, not a phone call, nothing. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My father's mask cracked, anger flashing in his eyes. My mother's sobs quieted into silence. And that's when they made the mistake. The one move that would seal their fate forever. The family gathering ended in chaos, but my parents weren't done. They called me constantly, their voices between rage and desperation. And then, one evening, Harold called. "They've filed a petition," he said flatly. "They're trying to claim guardianship rights, arguing you're not capable of managing the inheritance on your own. Froze, guardianship. At 26 it was absurd, insulting. But Harold assured me the law was on my side. Still, it meant one thing: a showdown was inevitable. The hearing was scheduled in the county courthouse. On the morning of the trial, I wore the suit Aunt Margaret had gifted me at graduation. As I stood before the mirror, I whispered her words, "Stand tall." When I entered the courtroom, my parents were already there. My father sat stiff, a rehearsed calm in his posture, while my mother clutched tissues in her hand, prepared for a performance. Their lawyer, a sharp-looking man in a gray suit, whispered strategy into their ears. The judge called us forward. My parents' lawyer spoke first, painting a picture of me as a grieving young man, easily misled by outside influences. He pointed at Harold with subtle disdain, suggesting my aunt's will had been twisted to cut them out unfairly. Then came my mother's turn. Her voice trembled with feigned sorrow. "We only want to protect him. He doesn't understand the responsibility of so much wealth. We've come back to guide him, to be the parents we should have been." I felt heat rise in my chest, but I held my ground. When it was my turn, Harold stood with me. His words were firm, sharp, undeniable. "Your Honor, these parents abandoned my client when he was 11 years old. We have records, testimonies, and proof that they provided no care, no support, and no contact for 15 years. They forfeited their rights long ago." Murmurs echoed through the courtroom. My father's mask cracked. He clenched his fists. My mother lowered her head, her tears suddenly drying. Then the judge turned to me. "Daniel, do you wish to speak?" I rose slowly, every eye in the courtroom on me. My voice was steady, though my hands trembled at my sides. "They call themselves my guardians. Guardians don't leave their child hungry. Guardians don't disappear for 15 years without a word. My real guardian was Margaret, my aunt, who gave me love, home, and life. And this inheritance is her final gift? They have no claim to it, and no claim to me." Silence. Then, the judge nodded firmly. "The will stands. The estate belongs solely to Daniel. Petition denied." The gavel struck, and the sound rang like thunder. My parents froze. My mother's lips parted as if to argue, but no words came out. My father's face drained of color. They had lost. I turned to them, meeting their eyes one last time. My father muttered through clenched teeth, "You'll regret this." I leaned closer, my voice low but sharp as steel. "No, I regret waiting 15 years to finally say this. You're nothing to me." I walked out of the courtroom with Harold by my side, sunlight streaming through the high windows. For the first time, I felt the weight of the past lifting. For the first time in years, I felt completely free, but I knew the real victory would come in the months ahead. 6 months have passed since the courtroom showdown, and my life has never felt lighter. For years, I carried the shadow of abandonment, the fear that I wasn't enough, that even my own parents didn't see value in me. But now, every morning, I wake up in Aunt Margaret's old house, my house, with a sense of peace I never imagined. I'd know. The estate no longer feels like a museum of grief. I've filled it with life again. The garden blooms with roses Aunt Margaret once tended. I've hired a gardener to keep them thriving. I even opened one wing of the house to foster kids in need, children who, like me, know the sting of being unwanted. Their laughter fills the halls now, and every giggle feels like justice. Financially, Harold has been my rock. He helped me set up a trust, investments, and safeguards so the inheritance works for me instead of vanishing. He's not just my lawyer anymore. He's become the mentor I always needed, a steady guide when doubt creeps in. As for my parents, life hasn't been kind. Their petition wasn't just denied, the story spread. Word got out about their 15-year abandonment, and suddenly, their reputation crumbled. Old friends distanced themselves. My father lost contracts at work when people whispered about what he had done. My mother's social circle shrank until she was left with nothing but forced smiles and unanswered calls. I've heard they're struggling financially, barely holding on to their lifestyle. They tried reaching out again, dozens of messages, even handwritten letters, but I haven't responded. Forgiveness isn't impossible, but it requires remorse, and what they showed me in court was only greed. Do I feel guilty? Sometimes. They are, after all, my parents. But then I remember the 11-year-old boy standing at the gate, watching taillights disappear into the night, waiting for people who never came back. That memory steals me. Family is not about blood. Family is about who stays, who fights for, You, who loves you without conditions. Today, my life is full. I'm planning a trip to Italy, Aunt Margaret's dream destination that she never got to see. I'll carry her picture with me when I go. And every step I take will be because of her love, her sacrifice, and the courage she taught me to claim my worth. If you take anything from my story, let it be this: never let those who abandoned you dictate your future. You are not obligated to those who walked away. Protect your peace, value yourself, and remember, true family is built with love, not entitlement. When you stop paying for love, you finally learn who truly loves you. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share in the comments. Tell me 2 things. What topic should the next story be about? And out of 10, how many marks would you give me for this one?